Well, here we are at Patsy's. You know, here's what I was thinking this morning. When I was a very little boy, like in elementary school, before President's Day, there was Washington's birthday. Remember Washington's birthday? He told stories about George Washington. It was a big deal. Now, Frank Sinatra, like his birthday is like replaced George Washington's birthday. We're actually celebrating it in the same way, but I saw Frank perform probably 75 times, maybe a couple times more. I'm a member of the Friars Club. Frank was the abbot of the Friars Club. I saw Frank over there at Cherry Hill, New Jersey at the Latin Casino, but my most memorable time of seeing Frank Sinatra was the first time I saw him, which was at the 500 Club in Atlantic City. Is anybody here? In Atlantic City, New Jersey, Skinny D'Amato's 500 Club. I was 16 years old. Frank was performing. Of course, I didn't have the money to get in. It was sold out. So I found out what time the show started. The show started at 9, 11, and 1. So about quarter to 11, dressed as a busboy, I walked in the back door of the 500 Club, walked through the kitchen, through the crowd, out into the Vermilion Room of the 500 Club, and started setting up tables like I was a busboy. A half hour later, the show started, the opening act, and then Sinatra, and I honestly fell in love with Sinatra that night. I saw Frank Sinatra at the 500 Club from about 25 feet away, dressed as a busboy standing in front of a pillar, and I've been a fan ever since. Absolutely, yeah.
Once, twice?
And I interviewed Frank Sinatra on Midday Live with Bill Boggs in 1975. I had gone to Vegas Easter weekend, and on the same night, celebrating with this woman I knew, who was her birthday, we saw Elvis early show and Sinatra late show. This is the kind of life I've been subjected to. I've been subjected to doing these things in my life. I know it hasn't been easy. Anyway, after the Sinatra show, which was terrific, I was wandering around. She got bombed, went back to her room. I ran into Jilly Rizzo at 3 in the morning. And he said, "Would you like to meet Frank?" I said, "Of course." And Jilly knew me because of Sammy and so forth. So I came back at 4 in the morning, and there was Frank in his tuxedo from the show, and a couple other people, a couple guys, a couple beautiful women, you know, guys with the big cufflinks, everybody smoking and drinking. This is the Galleria Lounge at the Caesar's Palace, right? So I get up, and Jilly introduces me to Frank, and I told him what a fan I was. I told him about the 500 Club story, which had been in the paper. He had heard about it. He said, "You're the guy who snuck in?" I was like, well, because nobody believed me. I never tell this part of the story. No one believed me. I was with a friend, a guy named Dave Fixler from Vineland, New Jersey. They didn't believe it. We saw Sinatra. We went back and did it again the next night and took pictures, which I still have. And it ended up getting in the paper because the owner of the hotel where we were working called Skinny D'Amato and told him it was in the paper. Anyway, that was gigantic, right? So I met Frank, Caesar's Palace, 4 in the morning. We hit it off, Teddy, just like when I met you. We hit it off, and Frank said, "Jilly says you have a show, TV show on Channel 5. I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, it's Easter now, but I'm going to be in New York in September with Ellen Basie at the Uris Theater. Maybe I'll come and do your show." And I said, "Frank, I'm not asking for anything." And he loved that moment that I really didn't say, "Oh, great, yeah, give me your phone number." And he said, "Maybe I'll come and do it. Can't promise you. Let's see." And his secretary called, and we set it up months and months later. It was the first interview we ever did on.
It's interesting, Bill, as you said earlier, that when Frank spoke to you and when he was singing, he would sing to you as you were the only person there, instead of singing to everybody. It was you felt very special. It's not like I'm talking to everyone, I'm talking to you.
Yeah, I think if you saw Frank live, if you listen to his records, particularly some of the more intimate things, like say the Close to You album, you really feel an intimacy with Sinatra. Can we try not to scream? Is it possible to try not to scream while we're on the radio here live? Frank would say, "Wrong." Okay? That's what Frank would say. He would go, "Wrong." Now, back to what we're talking about, Teddy.
We were talking about that he had the personality of making you feel very comfortable.
What Frank did was, he said to me, when I take a ballad, like say "Didn't We" or let's say "One for My Baby," I try to put myself in the position of a person who would actually be experiencing that situation at that time, and I make the case that that person would make. And I think that form and his acting skills, he was an excellent actor, he actually was able to sing with real emotions. And that drew us into people, the uncanny mystical ability. When Frank Sinatra sang, somehow it just seemed like it was straight to you. And it's a combination of acting, the intention of the lyrics, and just some intangible quality that Sinatra had.
What do you think most people, you or most people you would say miss most about Frank Sinatra?
Well, what I miss most is going to see him live. I saw Frank, at Carnegie 75, 80 times live. That's what I miss the most. And, maybe another album, even with the gravelly 95-year-old voice, he would be still communicating. He'd still be communicating with you. I miss the fact that he's in the world.